World-renowned tech investor Chamath Palihapitiya just came out and said that crypto in the United States and America as a whole is now dead. So in today's video, we're going to talk about his reasonings and what this means for you, whether you're a US or non-US crypto investor, and we're starting right now. So Chamath came out in the latest episode of the All In podcast saying that crypto in America is dead. He places the complete blame of its demise largely on regulators who have gotten much more aggressive in their pursuit of bad actors in the industry. Now, we've all seen within the last 6 months the absurd amount of Wells notices or intents to sue that the SEC has delivered to operations such as Coinbase, Binance US, and many more. Now, this follows soon after the crash of FTX, which seems to be the perfect fuel or the perfect catalyst that they needed to get this anti-crypto train rolling. Now, although their intentions do remain rather unclear, whether it be the distribution of CBDCs or maybe just the complete control of crypto as a whole, it's obvious that their intentions are malicious and something that we absolutely need to be concerned about. Chamath continues on in citing that Gary Gensler has even continuously placed blame on crypto for the banking crisis, which, as many of us know, was a direct result of mismanagement and poor decision making not only by the United States government but by regional banks as well. So that alone speaks for itself. They're willing to not only lie but throw crypto under the bus for problems that it did not cause in order to put it in a bad spotlight and to either control or destroy it as quickly as they possibly can. Now, as a result of these aggressive regulatory actions, we're seeing companies such as Coinbase and Bittrex considering leaving the United States because it may just not be worth the battle, especially when you're seeing places such as Hong Kong or El Salvador and Dubai all opening up the door for crypto operations because they recognize the opportunity that the United States is passing up on right now. And if this does continue to happen, and if this does continue to play out, it could be very possible that many of the major operations within crypto are driven out of the United States, which obviously would be very destructive, and which we will talk about in a second. Now, Chamath continues on and finishes up this interview by saying that it's not necessarily the regulations themselves that are killing crypto in America, but rather the uncertainty, the lack of clarity around these regulations that is doing all of the damage. He refers to the recent congressional hearing with Gary Gensler, in which Gary was not even able to answer yes or no questions about what is and is not a security. This leads Chamath to say specifically that you're punishing digital asset firms for allegedly not adhering to the law when they don't even know it will apply to them. And because of that regulatory uncertainty, he believes that crypto in the United States is now dead. Now, although I don't agree with him, which we will talk about in a second, let's talk about the worst case scenario in which he is right, crypto does die in the United States, and how it will not only affect US crypto investors but non-US crypto investors as well. Now, of course, the most major and obvious concern here is that if major crypto operations such as Coinbase, such as Binance US, and many more are forced out of the US into more crypto-friendly regions, that they will then also take blockchain and Web3 innovation with them, leaving the United States to kind of suffer the consequences of these ridiculous actions. Now, this would then impact a crypto investor's ability to off-ramp his or her crypto into fiat, because of course these off-ramping services would then suffer from the heat and likely have to close down also. Or in other words, once you have crypto, you're stuck with that crypto and there's no ability to sell it. Now, of course, for your Bitcoin maxi, this is no problem because they hate fiat and they just want to hold on to their crypto. But what you have to understand is that one of the most key aspects of crypto right now and the expansion of crypto is mass adoption and the onboarding of new investors. And if I was to tell a new investor, look, you're gonna buy this crypto or this thing that you have really not that much of an idea about and you can never sell it, you can never have your money back, the likelihood is that's going to be a major turnoff, and we're going to lose a lot of the onboarding that we've been seeing recently that's caused a lot of the growth that we have now. And so as a result of this, if these off-ramping services are impacted, that is going to do some outstanding damage not only to the United States but for crypto as a whole, which obviously we do not want to see. You see, one of the common misconceptions is that in this scenario, non-KYC and decentralized exchanges and platforms are going to be okay because you don't even have to tell people you live in the United States. And sure, that may be the case for people who already have crypto. The issue though is that many of these DEXs, many of these non-KYC platforms rely on new users. And if someone is not capable of onboarding their fiat into crypto and then their crypto to that DEX, then obviously that DEX is going to lose a lot of its volume, lose a lot of its revenue, lose a lot of the fees that it charges, and as a result of that, likely die off in the process. Now, sure, some will survive, some will do well, especially as we see places like China and Hong Kong specifically starting to introduce more laxed crypto regulation. But that does not change the fact that many of these platforms would suffer greatly, especially as the competition gets much higher within those specific regions. Now, the final misconception about this that people have is that if you're outside the United States, this isn't going to impact you at all. Now, sure, I don't believe that the world revolves around the US, but what you must understand is that crypto as a whole is extremely dependent on economic liquidity. And the reason for that is crypto crypto is still a risk-on asset, and risk-on assets absolutely need cash to be able to inflow into them to continue to see growth and expansion. And if you remove over 20 million crypto investors that are housed by the United States, that obviously is going to remove a substantial amount of the potential economic liquidity within crypto, doing vast amount of damage, especially to your more risky cryptos, such as your altcoins. So as you can see here, if this was to play out and crypto in the US was to die, this would impact every single person involved. So this is not something that we want to see. But gladly, I actually don't believe that this is how it's going to play out, rather at all. You see, as a result of recent congressional hearings, Gary Gensler and the SEC have lost tons of respect not only by the vast majority of the investment community, but by the government itself. Now, with some members of Congress pushing forward and actually calling for the removal of Gary Gensler for his unjust and irrational actions, it has become clear that the perceived power of the SEC over the crypto industry as a whole is one that has been abused and seemingly is diminishing quite substantially. And when you pair that with the fact that companies such as Coinbase are going to use their funds and use their own power to countersue the SEC for the fact that they have been unclear and unreasonable and unjust in all of the actions in which they have put forward against the crypto industry, it goes to show that crypto is not going to just sit back and take a beating. It's going to fight back and stand for what's right, and that removes some of the dictatorial perception of the SEC that realistically got us here in the first place. And realistically, even if the actions that crypto as a whole is taking to fight back have no effect, we're seeing some major important political elections in 2024 that will very likely correct a lot of the problems that we've seen not only just this year, but within the last few years also. These political elections very well could put people into power who have seen the flaws of the current administrations and then use those flaws to build onto something new that provides people with a lot more opportunity for growth that will be even more beneficial for the country as a whole. And so although the road will be bumpy, things will get ugly, there is still a lot of progress to be made. I do think that we are going to reach a point of clarity that will allow for crypto operations to resume in the United States as they did once before, maybe just in a little bit of a more organized manner. And so no, I don't believe that you should just be selling all of your crypto right now and getting it back into cash while you possibly can, because realistically, the banks aren't that safe either. But if you do want to learn even more about how this battle against the SEC is playing out for Ripple, make sure that you do click that video right there.